Jumanji wasn't just a family adventure movie, it was a fever dream of chaos, technical experiments, and real dangers that haunted its cast and crew. What audiences saw was whimsical fun with wild animals and board game magic. What actually happened on set? Near disasters with animatronics, grueling shoots, and a level of CGI ambition that nearly collapsed the studio's budget. Today, we're diving into 20 weird facts about Jumanji, 1995, that will change how you see this movie forever. From Robin Williams clashing with effects teams, to real-life animal scares, to a studio that didn't believe the film would work, this story is stranger than fiction. And wait until you hear the bonus fact, a bizarre secret hidden deep inside the jungle of Jumanji's production. Let's roll the dice. 1. Robin Williams. Went off script. Constantly. Robin Williams wasn't just acting, he was erupting with ideas. On set, directors would give him a few lines, but Williams turned them into wild monologues. The problem? Special effects sequences relied on precise timing. When Williams improvised, technicians controlling animatronic animals had no clue when to trigger movements. According to crew reports, this caused multiple takes to collapse in chaos, with vines striking too early or animals lunging too late. Director Joe Johnston had to find a middle ground. Let Williams unleash his comedy, then restage shots for continuity. It wasn't stand-up, it was survival. The result is a movie that feels spontaneous, but behind the scenes, it was a brutal dance between free-flowing humor and rigid technical demands. 2. The lion scene. Terrified the crew. That scene where a lion leaps onto the parish mansion's piano? It looks like movie magic, but it was dangerously real. The lion was animatronic for close-ups, but wide shots used a live animal. Trainers assured everyone it was safe, yet crew members later admitted they were terrified. Robin Williams reportedly quipped, "I don't care what you say, that cat's looking at me like lunch." Safety barriers were minimal, and one crew member said the tension was palpable whenever the lion was on set. It wasn't just acting, cast members genuinely looked rattled. The studio almost cut the live animal shots entirely, but Johnston insisted, saying the realism was worth the risk. 3. Kirsten Dunst. Nearly quit. During filming, Kirsten Dunst was only 12 years old during Jumanji, but the intensity almost broke her. Scenes involving collapsing sets and aggressive animatronics left her shaken. One incident involved the floor literally caving in beneath her during a flood sequence. While safety harnesses were in place, Dunst later admitted she felt like she might drown. Her mother reportedly threatened to pull her from production if the crew didn't ensure stricter safety protocols. Not a kid-friendly set, it was a survival test disguised as family entertainment. Dunst later said the experience gave her a new respect for stunt performers, but at the time, she was just terrified. 4. The mosquito scene was a technical nightmare. The giant mosquito attack looks fun on screen, but it was mayhem on set. The production used massive mechanical rigs with motorized wings that emitted an ear-splitting buzz. Crew members described the sound as a chainsaw inside your skull. Timing them for attacks was almost impossible, since Robin Williams and Bonnie Hunt were improvising dialogue. Worse, the prop mosquitoes leaked hydraulic fluid, staining costumes and damaging set pieces. The visual effects team eventually replaced much of the footage with CGI overlays, but the dailies revealed just how chaotic the practical shoot really was. What audiences didn't know? That funny mosquito scene left the crew exhausted, half-deaf, and covered in oil. 5. The stampede sequence. Nearly bankrupted the film. The iconic animal stampede was a landmark in CGI, but it almost destroyed the production. In 1995, digital effects were still uncharted territory. Industrial Light and Magic, ILM, had to invent new software just to make the rhinos, elephants, and zebras move realistically. Each frame took hours to render, and the sequence blew past its budget by millions. Studio executives panicked, calling it a money pit with no guarantee of payoff. There were heated battles between Joe Johnston and TriStar execs, with threats of slashing the scene entirely. Johnston refused. He argued the stampede was the film's heart, not an accessory. In the end, the gamble worked. Audiences were stunned. But inside the studio, it nearly ended careers. 6. The monkeys were a blend of practical and CGI. The mischievous monkeys that tear apart the kitchen look cartoonish now, but in 1995 they were cutting edge. The team first tried using puppets and costumed performers, but the results were laughably bad. According to crew diaries, one early test looked like a man in a gorilla suit at a children's birthday party. ILM stepped in with CGI, but they blended practical props for close-ups, like monkey hands smashing plates. The hybrid approach confused actors who often reacted to empty air. Robin Williams reportedly begged for something tangible to act against, leading the crew to rig stuffed toys on sticks as eye lines. It wasn't elegant, but it worked. What audiences didn't realize is that the monkeys became a crash course in mixing practical chaos with digital trickery, an experiment that influenced Harry Potter and other CGI-heavy films to come. 7. The alligator was real for one shot. The infamous alligator in the flooded house wasn't always a visual effect. For one shocking moment, the crew used a real alligator in the water tank. Trainers assured everyone it was safe, but Robin Williams and Bonnie Hunt weren't convinced. Williams later joked, "That thing had more teeth than my lawyer." The crew filmed only a few seconds before switching to animatronic models, but the terror on the actors' faces in the real shot is genuine. The waterlogged set made conditions slippery and dangerous, with one crew member dislocating a shoulder trying to scramble out of the tank. It wasn't just Hollywood magic, it was a brush with something deadly. 8. Joe Johnston. Almost quit the film director. Joe Johnston, known for Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, nearly walked off Jumanji. The constant studio interference and budget overruns drove him to the breaking point. Executives questioned his vision, especially after early dailies looked chaotic. Johnston fought battles on multiple fronts, balancing Robin Williams's improvisations, managing terrified child actors, and wrangling ILM's experimental CGI. At one point, he wrote a resignation letter, but never delivered it. What kept him? Reportedly, it was Robin Williams who told him, "If you leave, this whole thing falls apart." Johnston stayed, but by Wrap Day, he swore never to do another effects-heavy comedy again. True to his word, his later films leaned more toward action and adventure, leaving the chaos of Jumanji behind. 9. The Parish House was destroyed multiple times. The Parish Mansion wasn't one set. It was 3 different versions, each built for destruction, one for the lion attack, one for the stampede, and one for the flood. Each had to be meticulously rebuilt after every major effects sequence. Production designer James Bissell admitted it was a logistical nightmare, with carpenters working around the clock just to keep up with filming. Water damage from the flood scenes rotted the wood, while mechanical rigs from the stampede literally tore walls apart. By the end, the house wasn't a set. It was a corpse held together with tape and paint. The illusion of continuity on screen hides the fact that the parish home was practically collapsing in real life, rebuilt again and again just to survive one more chaotic scene. 10. Robin Williams. Scared the child actors. On purpose. Robin Williams was beloved, but on Jumanji, he sometimes pushed his younger co-stars to their limits. During intense scenes, he stayed in character as Alan Parrish, wild-eyed, unhinged, and shouting. Kirsten Dunst later admitted she was unsettled by how convincing he was, saying he felt like a man who had really lived in the jungle for 26 years. Williams used this tactic deliberately, believing authentic fear would help their performances. The gamble worked. The kids' reactions often feel raw and real, but some crew members felt it crossed a line. What audiences didn't know is that part of the film's intensity came not from special effects, but from Robin Williams channeling his own primal energy in a way that blurred the line between acting and reality. And we're only halfway through. If you're hooked by these behind-the-scenes disasters, go ahead and like and subscribe, because the next 10 facts reveal even wilder secrets, lawsuits, near-fatal stunts, and a cultural backlash no one saw coming. 11. The Stampede. Nearly killed a cameraman. The CGI stampede gets all the glory, but parts of it involved practical rigs, and one of those almost crushed a cameraman. For close-ups of furniture flying, the crew used hydraulic cannons to blast tables and chairs into walls. One misfire sent a heavy oak table skidding straight toward a camera operator. He dove out of the way at the last second, but the camera was destroyed. Robin Williams reportedly froze in horror, convinced someone had been killed. The crew halted production for hours, and safety protocols were rewritten overnight. It wasn't just digital animals causing chaos, the practical effects were just as brutal. What audiences didn't realize is that the stampede sequence was as dangerous to film as it looked on screen. 12. Bonnie Hunt's worst injury came from a vine. While much of the danger came from mechanical rigs and floods, Bonnie Hunt's most painful injury was shockingly low-tech. During a take where vines slammed through the walls, a prop vine whipped across her face. The force was so strong it left a swollen bruise under her eye that makeup struggled to conceal. Hunt powered through, but later admitted the vines terrified her more than the animals. The props were spring-loaded, unpredictable, and often malfunctioned. In fact, one vine snapped free from its rig and nearly impaled a crew member. The studio marketed Jumanji as a fun family adventure, but on set, even the fake plants fought back, turning every scene into a potential accident waiting to happen. 13. The film faced an unexpected backlash. When Jumanji hit theaters in 1995, not everyone embraced it. Parent groups accused the film of being too frightening for children. The lion attacks, the collapsing house, the swarming insects. Critics argued it crossed the line for a kids' movie. Newspapers ran editorials with titles like "When Family Films Go Too Far." Robin Williams defended the movie, saying kids like to be scared a little. Ironically, the controversy only fueled its success, as older children begged to see the movie parents didn't want them to watch. What audiences didn't know is that Jumanji almost carried a PG-13 rating, but studio executives fought hard to keep it PG, fearing families would avoid it. The gamble paid off, though plenty of parents walked out mid-screening. 14. The stampede hooves were based on real recordings. The sound design for the stampede wasn't stock audio. It was built from real earth-shaking recordings. Sound engineers dragged microphones into a horse arena and recorded dozens of horses running full tilt. To deepen the bass, they added recordings of elephants at a zoo. But here's the twist. One engineer admitted he secretly used his own car, revving across gravel, to thicken the texture of the stampede. What audiences hear in that iconic scene isn't just animals, it's a Frankenstein blend of horses, elephants, and a Ford Bronco. The realism comes from layering, not just raw nature. It wasn't just sound design. It was sonic trickery that turned everyday noises into one of cinema's most memorable stampedes. 15. The board game became a real obsession. The Jumanji board wasn't just a prop, it sparked a craze. Crew members loved it so much that multiple replicas were stolen from the set. One even surfaced at a Hollywood memorabilia auction years later, fetching tens of thousands of dollars. The game's carved wood and glowing center orb fascinated fans, leading to countless bootleg versions popping up in toy stores and flea markets. But here's the kicker: the board didn't actually work. The glowing text was achieved with green screen compositing, leaving the real prop blank. Robin Williams once joked, "If it really worked, half the crew would have been eaten by rhinos." What audiences didn't know is that the Jumanji board itself became a cursed object of sorts, drawing obsession long after the cameras stopped rolling. 16. The flood scene. Nearly drowned the set. The Parish House flood sequence wasn't CGI, it was gallons of real water pumped into a massive tank. The crew underestimated the force, and when the water rushed in, it destroyed part of the set's support beams. Robin Williams, Bonnie Hunt, and the kids were strapped into safety harnesses, but chaos erupted as debris floated dangerously close. A camera operator was swept off his platform, and equipment short-circuited mid-take. Kirsten Dunst later admitted she panicked, feeling like she couldn't breathe. Production halted for days to rebuild the damaged set, and stricter divers were brought in for safety. What audiences didn't realize is that the fun flood scene was a near disaster that put both cast and crew in real danger. 17. Robin Williams clashed with the CGI team. Williams's improvisational style didn't just unsettle the animatronic operators, it frustrated ILM's digital team too. CGI in 1995 required exact timing, but Williams often shifted pacing mid-scene, forcing animators to re-render entire sequences. One insider recalled, "Every time Robin changed a line, millions of dollars went down the drain." The tension escalated when Williams publicly joked about the monkeys looking like PlayStation graphics, which reportedly angered ILM staff. Yet his improvisations also gave the film its chaotic energy. Not CGI, but raw performance. What audiences didn't know is that the movie's mix of cutting-edge effects and unpredictable acting was less collaboration and more controlled chaos, an uneasy marriage that somehow birthed magic. 18. The filmmakers feared. Being overshadowed by Toy Story Jumanji, released only weeks after Pixar's Toy Story, the first fully computer-animated feature film. Executives at TriStar panicked that audiences would dismiss Jumanji's effects as outdated by comparison. In fact, ILM staff admitted they were terrified. Toy Story made their hybrid of CGI and practical effects look clunky. Robin Williams even joked that Woody and Buzz were stealing his thunder. Yet Jumanji's blend of physical sets and digital creatures gave it a darker, more tactile quality that Toy Story lacked. Instead of being buried, it carved out its own niche. What audiences didn't know is that Jumanji wasn't just competing with other blockbusters, it was racing against a revolution in animation that threatened to make it obsolete on arrival. 19. The film's ending was reshot multiple times. The bittersweet ending, where Alan and Sarah reset time, didn't come easily. The first cut tested poorly, with audiences finding it confusing and unsatisfying. One version ended on a darker note, suggesting the game could never truly be destroyed. Another ended abruptly, without the beach reveal of the French-speaking couple discovering the board. Test audiences hated both. The studio forced multiple reshoots, with Robin Williams growing frustrated at the constant rewrites. In the end, the final version, hopeful yet ominous, was the compromise. What audiences didn't know is that the ending we remember was stitched together from trial and error, a fragile balance between closure and mystery. Without those reshoots, Jumanji might have left a much bleaker aftertaste. 20. The movie sparked real-life urban legends. After Jumanji's release, urban legends spread that cursed board games were appearing in toy stores. Some kids swore their Jumanji knockoffs made strange noises at night. Parents claimed pieces moved on their own. None of it was true, of course, but the film's intensity blurred fantasy and reality for its young audience. In some towns, schools even banned kids from bringing Jumanji-style games to class, fearing they were too disruptive. The hysteria echoed the satanic panic of the 1980s, showing how deeply the film's imagery struck nerves. not just a movie, but a cultural phenomenon that convinced children, and even some adults, that Jumanji wasn't fiction at all, but a dangerous portal waiting to be opened. Bonus fact: the real cursed prop. Perhaps the strangest detail of all, one of the original Jumanji boards went missing after production. Years later, it surfaced in the hands of a private collector who claimed weird things happened whenever it was in his house: objects falling, pets acting strangely, power outages. While most dismissed it as coincidence, the story spread through fan forums, cementing the board's reputation as cursed. Some even whispered the studio encouraged the legend to boost DVD sales. Whatever the truth, the mystique remains. The game that trapped Alan Parrish for 26 years didn't just live on in fiction. It became a real-world artifact of mystery, obsession, and superstition. Jumanji wasn't just a children's adventure film. It was a chaotic battleground of experimental effects, dangerous stunts, and clashing egos that somehow fused into a classic. What audiences saw was magic. What the cast and crew lived through was closer to survival. And maybe that's why the film endures. It feels alive, unpredictable, and just a little bit cursed. If you loved uncovering these secrets, hit that like button, subscribe for more, and remember, once you start the game, there's no going back.